Well, guys, I don't.
That's it. The presentation's finished. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Boston.
I'm not quite sure what to do now. I've got all sorts of feelings inside me. I don't know how to handle them.
Just keep your trousers on, mate.
Okay, right, will do. So it's Thursday. Can we have an introduction from you both, please?
This is Ben.
This is Jim.
I'm Jim Stoten, illustrator, monkey man.
I'm Ben. I am an illustrator and art director, and I'm very pale.
Is it the lighting, Ben, or do you need to eat more fruit?
No, that's because part of my family's Scottish.
It's nerves.
Right, okay. They're both good reasons. I'll introduce you. This is the illustration BA first year at Leeds College of Art. We won't do all the names, but
Can everyone shout their name at the same time on 3? 1, 2, 3. Cool, nice to meet you all.
Magic.
Did anyone not shout their own name?
Emmanuel, what did you say? Oh, right, okay.
Whoever that is, they're going to go far, probably.
Are we advocating lying?
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's good. That's it then, talk's over.
That's all you have to do. Bye.
I know we sent you some questions earlier on to act as a... Oh, we've got a bit of a glitch. This will work itself out, though. That's nice. Maybe someone should take a picture of that. Oh. Sorry guys, just bear with us. Hopefully this isn't going to... Right, are we back?
Yeah.
Hi guys.
What happened?
I think it's something to do with Keanu Reeves.
Is he messing around with the wires?
Yeah, I think so. He took the red pill. And now it's all got real. But we'll try and maintain. I think if it goes again, perhaps we could fall to a default of just audio and not video as well, because we can still talk through those slides you sent us. But I think for now, because you both look so much like illustrators, then we should probably let's just try and keep this going.
Okay.
I suppose we could perhaps start with from the list of questions we went through. I wanted to ask you both if you could, in a short and concise way, can you explain what your creative practice is?
Do you want to go first?
Creative practice. Well, I have a studio that I go and work at in East London, and then Mondays and Tuesdays I work as an art director at Noah Brown and Flying Out Books, and then the rest of my weeks are split between going and lecturing or drawing in my studio. And sometimes I work for clients, sometimes I work for myself, sometimes I tend to work more on my own books now. Jim?
Coconut. I teach 2 days a week, believe it or not. I teach a day at Brighton University and a day at Camberwell. And the rest of the week is split between freelancing, freelance projects, which is usually editorial and sometimes like commercial things if I'm lucky, actually, if we're being honest, it's usually pitches for commercial things that I don't get. And
What do you mean by you don't get?
oh, that's my go. But I also work on personal projects. I've been working on a book recently with Ben here, and working on a few personal projects, and then like some performance sometimes with the band, and just a big mishmash of things basically.
Okay. I think what's
And to take one of those ingredients away, and the cake tastes like bad dirt.
okay. So it's important to have all these different creative outlets.
No, it's important not to put dirt in your cake.
How true. I'm interested though. Like, it's very easy for you to like say, "Oh, I sit in the studio and I draw," but I'm interested in like what are the fundamental day-to-day things that allow you to make finished pieces of work. What's the fuel for your creative practice? Is it drawing? Is it printing? Is it a specific form of image making?
Autism.
Right.
Drawing for me.
Right.
I draw all the time, and I do spend most of the time sitting at this desk. I work from home.
Right.
And it's usually pen on paper, and then scanning and cleaning things up or colouring things in Photoshop. Music's very important. Listening to music, just having a comfortable environment, basically, where you feel you can. Because I find it quite difficult to justify large amounts of time doing my favourite thing. It feels sort of like self-indulgent and lazy.
Right.
But I'm coming to grips with it recently and allowing myself to do it. That's my thing anyway.
Yeah. Guilt. If you're self-employed, you suffer from guilt quite a lot, so that really helps.
Right.
So it's not just Catholics; it's also self-employed people too.
Religious group there.
I just kind of need to do it, really. I think.
So you're saying behind everything else, there's a need or a pleasure that you constantly can find from just making pictures.
Yeah, it's a strange mix of anxiety and joy and control. Yeah.
Control. Yeah, I think one of the main things for me is I feel like I have control over my job and what I'm doing, and I know that. I just always get satisfaction out of it. It never really kind of lets me down.
Right. Okay.
I like making things, and then I like showing them to people.
Right. That's the second part that's interesting, because it's not just about making pictures, I presume. So there's something more to it that keeps you going.
Yeah, mine is ego.
Right. Okay.
I often, this is honestly true. I often think about after I'm dead.
Right.
What will happen? How will I be remembered? And you have to have an enormous ego to think like that, I think.
Yeah.
But that's why it's a source of anxiety, because obviously no one likes to think about death.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of pressure there that you put on yourself to leave behind as good a body of work as possible. But then there's always this pressure, like, well, who cares, and why is it that important? And that's the part that you have to battle against, and that's where the pleasure of doing it kicks in, because then you go, well, even if it's not that important, I just love doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me,
plus you make money from it if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. My dad pushed me quite hard as a child, and I worked a lot of really rubbish jobs. So I put window hinges together on a conveyor belt. I worked in the kitchens at a hospital as a porter for about 2 weeks, and I had to be there at 4:30 in the morning and had to do the milk round. The first day I went there, the guy showed me around all the wards. The hospital's fucking huge. And then the next day I turned up and there was no one to show me around, and I had to deliver all the milk. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know how to be in this situation again as I get older. And then I've worked loads of just kind of regular jobs that I wasn't particularly passionate about. I mean, I've done labouring and nights and all sorts of things. And I just thought, I think my constant strive is that I don't ever want to end up back where I was. I always want to kind of be further along and being happy.
Yeah.
Because it makes me happy, and I don't want to be sad.
Right. Who does?
Sad.
You don't.
Well,
Woody Allen does.
yeah, Woody Allen.
He brings it on himself.
He does. I heard one day he married his daughter.
He married his adopted daughter.
Yeah. That's not the straight route to happiness, is it? I don't think. I've got a question here about research. We've been talking about research quite a lot. And I suppose in an educational bubble, research is a very formal thing. We assess it, we go out and we do it. But is there still a sense that you have to research, even in a very kind of informal way, that you still do things to inform the solutions and the ideas that you're generating?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think things like how we've decided to dress today is a little bit, on a serious note, is a little bit researchy. I think it's about making a way to finding a way to enjoy things in your own personal. Hold on a second. Just hold on. It's something about turning things that you have to do into pleasurable activities. That's a form of research for me. So I sort of always relate almost everything I do, which makes me an incredibly annoying person to be around or be in a relationship with.
Just instantly we're not in a relationship.
But I always relate what I'm doing to my practice somehow.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking about it, and it's about it's terrible because it's sort of inspiring yourself by, I don't know. It's a weird. I don't know. I need to think more.
That's okay. Well, so research informing your work. Well, quite often, writing's not my strong suit. Probably mainly grammar and punctuation, and I don't really know many facts. I'm not very good in the pub quiz, which is quite often why I work with people that know what they're doing. So, I've worked with a scientist on a recent project, and I've worked with writers on other things, and I can have an interest in them, but I'm just never sure I'm the right person to explain it. So, I'll do my research and find out about the subject, and then I find the right person to do it. I think also, like, working as an art director is quite it's a bit of a role reversal for me, because I have to sometimes think up ideas for other people, or I have to have thoughts on someone else's work and how to improve it. So I've got a lot of practice of that from working as a tutor and things, but then working with people actively who are professionals and have been doing whatever they've been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
Suddenly having to kind of not up my game, but go, okay, well, I can't just go through how to draw a rough, and it's a bit more involved than that. So sometimes, where am I going with this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, but what I'm saying is, your research is just around you all the time.
That's what I was going to say.
Right. Okay.
So when I teach, people go, what is research? What are we supposed to be doing? Is it stuff in my sketchbook? Am I supposed to be collecting pictures and papers and all that stuff? And it is partly that, but I think research is about surrounding yourself with just things that you like and inspire you and make you think and make you think of things that you want to do. That's what research is to me.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, I'm quite often inspired by things that don't look like anything that I would draw. I don't really use any line work, but I absolutely love people who draw. I love line. I love seeing people thinking in completely different ways to how I think.
So could you? These are great answers, and I'm interested in. Could you give us a few examples of some of the things you do like to surround yourself with, then that you feel resonate in some way with you? You talked about music before, but any particular objects or artifacts or treasures?
Yeah. Well, this is my flat, and I can't show you around because we're not on a laptop, unfortunately. But if you could see...
Yeah, that one over there, the duck. Actually, I can't show that other toy I was looking at earlier on.
No, you can't.
There's a really rude toy.
Well, you could.
Could you show us?
Okay, is anyone in the room younger than 18?
No, you're fine.
Things like this. Look at this.
You do that.
Can you see that?
Yeah?
I bought that on a beach. A child made that. It's a penguin. He said it's a penguin, but it's got ears. See? I just love things like that. And this is a triceratops that, if you put it in water, it grows.
Amazing.
So I put half of it in water, and the tail end of it grew really big, but now it's shrunk because it's dried. See? I don't know why I'm inspired by things like that.
I don't really know where Jim found this one, but.
Alright, actually, My dad bought me that. These are soaps. Look at these beautiful soaps.
Is that a chipmunk?
Yeah,
Ghostbuster.
it's Chippendale.
Amazing.
Chipmunks. And that's like just a hunter. Look at his tiny little gun. Holding it with 2 hands. Look.
And is that for bath time?
He doesn't want anyone to steal it.
Is it what?
Is that for bath time? You soak yourself up with that?
I don't use them, I just like them. But it's important to surround yourself with things that you like, I think.
And the only reason he doesn't use them in the bath is because he doesn't have a bath, he just has a shower.
Fair enough. I wanted maybe to ask you about how you use a sketchbook or how you make preparatory drawing or diagrams before you start making final pieces of work.
Well, we work quite differently. But the two of us work quite differently. I will draw the same thing over and over and over and over again. So it maybe starts off more detailed, and then I try and refine it back to being quite simple. But Jim has this amazing ability of just being able to draw anything.
Well, here's my current sketchbook.
Nice.
But I don't know. The sketchbook's weird for me because it's not really about projects so much. So I don't use this stuff for work. I didn't have this, I think I might kill someone. Right. It's like an external hard drive for your brain. Right. Just all the stuff that you don't use or you can't speak about or you can't put into words. You just put it all in here, and it does sort of inspire you and influence you, I guess. And it's good practice, good drawing practice, and it's just good creative thinking practice, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how I use it. And again, I'm in it all the time, so it's really difficult to. That's the problem I have, is that the way that I work is that I don't ever switch off, and it's hard finding women.
I appreciate that, Jim. I think I'm interested in keeping a sketchbook in that way. Since you were in the first year of your university course, has the approach and the way you've used it stayed the same, but the drawing skill has evolved?
Not at all, no.
Right, so you were born with a gift.
I've actually got one of my first sketchbooks, which is really terrible. So, sorry, Dan.
It's alright.
Sorry.
My sketchbook is just where it's like a little gym where you do your work out.
Nice.
Do your workouts and your push-ups.
Yeah.
And then and actually when I start tightening up and drawing a bit neater, I actually stop working in the sketchbook and work on loose pieces of paper. That might sound kind of silly, but I tend to work quite small to start off with, so sketchbook's great, and then I feel it a little bit restricting and a bit claustrophobic. So I like then grabbing a piece of A3 or like a large piece of paper, and if I work out quite small on that, the nice thing is that so for example, sometimes I have students that work in the tiniest sketchbooks, and it seems totally retarded because you can only draw small, and then it's really easy to fill that page up, and then you have to turn the page over, and then when you need to reference something that you've just drawn, you have to turn the page back again, and then whereas if you just get a massive sheet of paper and just start drawing on it, all your drawings are everywhere, so you just have to glance with your eye to see where you were and where you're going and get an idea. So I use the sketchbook to start off with, and then I come out of the sketchbook, start working on bigger bits of paper, and that to me is, the sketchbook is more of a kind of portable way of taking my work with me in my rucksack, and then when I'm sat at a desk, I like to have a bit more room to breathe.
But it very much sounds like a process, or that there's a procedure or methodology for how you get from brief to end product, like a designer almost.
That's where we're different.
Right, okay.
Ben uses his sketchbook for projects mainly, I would say.
Right, yeah.
Whereas I don't do that. I use mine as a form of therapy.
Right.
I mean, in the first, I've just found one of my sketchbook from the first one, the only. I didn't really do much work when I was at university, but it's just loads of writing, and I didn't know how to use my sketchbook because I thought it was supposed to be this place where you put I thought it was like in maths where you show you're working out. You know, they always used to say show you're working out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what I thought it was. So
Why didn't you get one with grids on there? Because that's what mathematicians use, not plain paper. It's like someone said sketchbook and you just heard diary.
yeah, I just used it really formally.
Right.
So I didn't use it as a place to go and put everything that I wanted to put in it. I was using it to show my teachers basically.
Yeah, yeah. So the point we're getting to is that, like, however you use it, you need to own it, I suppose.
Sorry, say that again.
However anyone uses a sketchbook, it needs to be like
Personal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Find your way of doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think
Cheers. So, should we have a look at some of those images you sent over?
Why not?
Righto.
You might have to just.
Hello. Oh, we haven't. So we don't know what we're doing with Skype. We've just got the PDF here.
Right.
You got it.
Matthew, I'm very sorry about my almost OCD-like instructions.
Absolutely fine.
Is that all right? Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I think it's better to be in control of these sort of things than slightly out of control.
I've had so many problems with Skype in the past that I just thought that screen share thing always it's a right pain in the ankle.
In the body.
We
Okay.
were just saying how we really dislike the internet.
Yeah, terrible. I think it's
Yeah.
making everyone really sad.
What year? Yeah, I think it is as well.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it is. What year are you all in, you lot?
Fir-
First year.
How many what? Say again.
This is first year.
What?
First year.
First year. We don't have a second and a third year because we're a brand new degree course.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
The first year just lasts for 3 years.
Yeah, that's it. And then we're not taking any more. This is it. We're just having 40 students, and that's all we can give. No,
You don't want it any bigger than that.
It's the way of the future.
yeah.
The way of the future. The way of the future. If you haven't seen The Aviator, you won't understand that.
It's on Netflix, but I've not seen it yet.
Oh, it's brilliant. I've watched it so many times on Netflix. That's the only good thing about the internet, Netflix.
Right. Has everyone written that down? What we've done then is I've got your PDF up, and we're looking at both your faces in the top left of our screen, and then we can see your PDF like in filling most of the screen up.
Oh dear.
So we're looking at the first image, which is Jim's poster for Noel Fielding, and it's in the good category. Can you tell us more about this, Jim?
Sure. Well,
Can I close the window? Because I'm really cold with just this poncho on.
absolutely. He's got trousers on.
Has he got anything underneath the poncho?
He's got trousers on, naughty. Okay, so this is a bit secret. I'm not really supposed to be showing anyone this yet because it hasn't happened yet. But it's a very exciting project. I got to do this poster for Noel Fielding because he's going to do some live performances soon, and connected with his luxury comedy series. Don't know if anyone's
Yeah, amazing.
worked on that. And so basically, I got this job through my friend Dave, Dave Brown, who plays Bolo in the Mighty Boosh, but he's also an art director and a photographer and just an all-round talented bean. And we both worked with him recently on a music video that I did for myself, Ego again. But this came about because Dave got the commission to do a poster, and he wanted to use illustration, and so he asked me if I wanted to work with it. And the reason it's in the good category is because the brief was really, really loose, and the important part of that is that the person commissioning me trusted me to do my job. That is massively important to say, because it's very, very rare that you find an art director who trusts you. Even though you're a professional and that's what you do, an art director will usually try and say, that's good, but you should probably do this instead. And in this job, he just said, do what you want, I trust you, as long as you put the characters in from the series, it's going to be fine. And that's why that seemed good, because it was a really enjoyable job. It still had challenges, but it was easier because I was in control. And
Amazing.
that's why it's so good.
Yeah, and I think it comes through in the work as well. It seems very assured, it just seems appropriate.
Exactly, that's the mad thing I don't understand about. I don't understand why the illustrator isn't given or trusted more, because it's what they do. And when an illustrator is given a commission and they enjoy what they're doing, the job it's always better. You can always tell.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Ben's playing cards up now. Ben, do you want to tell us a bit about this?
Yes, please. This project hasn't come out yet. It should be out sometime this year. This was a great project because, again, the client waited 2 years for me to have time to get around to starting this job. And then I emailed them going, okay, I finally got the time. Is this still okay? And they were like, yes, of course. And then I spent another 7 months. And you look at the designs and they're so simple, it wouldn't look like it took that long. But I actually went through about 3 sort of different versions of cards, and I did so much research into really early card design. And I was thinking, for the house cards, should they mirror? Because I wanted them to be quite a practical set of cards. I wanted them to look, quite often when you get art-based playing cards, they're not very practical. You can't really use them for what you're supposed to use them for, because they're just a different picture on every single card. So I've made the pack as traditional as I can. I decided not to mirror them in the end, because actually some of the really early playing cards weren't mirrored at all, with the top and the bottom.
Do you mean early in terms of history?
Yes.
Sorry.
And it was really great. They were really patient with me. They let me take my time. And I feel like what the result of that is that I worked through and I made something really simple. And I mean, my big goal with my work is to make something that people will like now, but then in 20 or 30 or 40 years' time will still like, so they age as well. Yeah. So I like to think that this could, I want to try and produce work that, just basically age well, because that's where my taste lies. I like work, that was made 60 years ago that still looks better than what most people are doing these days, nowadays, with computers and everything made easy. So anyway, I really, really loved working on this project because I just had time to go wrong and to fail, and then when it did go wrong, when it did go wrong, it was okay because I got to take a step back, leave it a few days, and then come back to it, rather than feeling this constant I've got to get it finished. And they were just such a wonderful, wonderful client. They're called Dan and Dave Industries. They're a magic card company in LA, and they produce loads of cards. They're all printed with the playing card company, the US, the US playing card company. So they're produced to a really high spec.
Yeah.
And I just felt incredibly fortunate and lucky to be asked to design some cards for them. And these are so different to anything else they've put out. So, and they just let me do whatever I wanted. So.
It sounds like basically we're saying this job's good when you can do what you want, but it's not quite that simple. The job goes better if you have the freedom to move.
Well, actually, no. I'd say the key thing is with an art director is that quite often, if you're working on a project and you feel like the art director is taking away, I feel like bad art direction is when you look at an artist has done and you get them to take away and kind of devolve the work, or whereas when I've worked with good art directors, they just want you to push it and be more creative, and when they can pinpoint exactly what it is that you're trying to do and how you can make it more interesting. So a good art director always adds to what you're doing, they never take away.
Yeah. Amazing.
Hello?
Yeah. Just taking it all in. It's really nice. I think it's a really nice project. It seems totally appropriate. The bad then, as we move on, there's some quite cryptic slides. There's one I think there's a couple here from Jim with some speech marks. Jim, do you want to tell us what's going on here?
Right. Well, I'll try and be as quick as possible, but basically that's not going to happen. This is a long story and it's filled with bile. Okay, so this is one of the pictures. Oh, Ben's on. You said it before. This is one of the pitches that I was talking about before. So this is a pitch, a very typical pitch for a piece of commercial work, a piece of advertising work. I got it through my agent. I knew that the money was going to be really good if I got it, like sort of astronomically good, like unusually good. So I wanted to do it, and because I knew the money was going to be good if I'd get the job, it means I put up with a lot of shit in this run-up stage. So this image that says "Let's talk the future," can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what they sent me. They said, Jim, we think your work's going to be perfect for this advertising campaign, and this is what we want you to do. So I got this "Let's Talk the Future," which is possibly one of the most boring drawings that I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if you'd agree. But
Yes, I agree. Do you agree? Okay, we have consensus.
excellent. And the one next to it on the right is the next slide that they showed me. We want you to do this, but we want you to do it your way. We want you to do it like the way you would do it, you know? The one underneath "Let's Talk the Future" is what I sent them, because at the same time as them saying this, we want you to do it your way, they also specified they wanted me to use those boxes, that layout, but basically just don't change anything about that image except the characters. So I did my version of the characters. Okay?
Yep.
They're making sense so far?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I sent the one on the bottom left through. I sent it to them, and they said it's really good. But what we want you to do is we want you to treat it like you would do it. Don't look at our don't look at the way we've done it. Do it the way you would do it. And then I went to my sketchbook and I drew the bottom right-hand little man who's saying "fuck" and holding his head. And I wrote a poem called "Mean World," and I had a massive meltdown. This was about 4 in.
Can you read out the poem, Jim? Is that too much?
Yeah, it says, this was me trying to calm myself down. Let things go, let coins fall out of my pockets, let time go by without incident, let productivity levels be low, let uncertainty be, let success go. And then I drew the picture of the man saying "fuck."
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand what I was saying myself. Then the next frame, can you see that?
The slightly larger one with more characters in.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was what I ended up sending them. You know, my version of the characters, still using the boxes because they said they wanted that, and it was just a nightmare. It was just really, really hard, and I was basically. The reason it's in bad is because I was constrained by the pressure of knowing that the money was going to be extraordinary.
Interesting, yeah.
And I just felt a terrible need to please the client, and I knew that was going to be incredibly hard because they didn't really know what they wanted. So it was kind of impossible. And also I didn't sleep for like a day and a half doing it. So it was just, and I didn't get it.
Right.
That was the worst part.
Sorry, Jim.
No worries.
Did you? Yeah. Well, it's fine. The wheel keeps turning, doesn't it? But do you feel like there's any way you can have that conversation with the client about helping them to decide what they want, or is that not your job?
I've tried to do that before,
Yeah.
but it is incredibly hard because it's not the same for all art directors, but these ones in particular, you know, their job basically is to be the middleman between the company, in this case it was the co-op,
Yeah.
who want billboards, and then they're the middleman between the company that want the billboard and me, the man in his bedroom who does the drawings.
Yeah.
So they've got two very different people to deal with.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just hard because they don't actually know what big company want.
Yeah.
But yet they try and tell me what they want without being too specific and without being too vague.
Yeah.
So then your job as the illustrator is to basically decode a message, which even if you do manage to decode it, just turns out to be nonsense. Do you know what I mean? It's very difficult. It's very
absolutely.
difficult.
And I think it's probably why we end up seeing a lot of derivative and uninspired kind of creative work in the commercial field. You know, that not that there isn't enough talent out there, but Yeah, yeah.
So really, it's safe options, and I thought. Unfortunately, a lot of it is to do with the fact that people making creative decisions aren't creative people.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a very strange setup. But like you said, it's not the end of the world, and it was a good experience doing it. And it just wasn't meant to be.
It's not the end of the world because Jim's wearing a suit that looks like space.
Exactly.
I'm
a happy
He doesn't
man.
even need the world. He's space.
Yeah.
Ben, can you talk us through this next slide? The looks like a poster for a radio show.
Yeah, sure.
Stop it. Put that away.
I want you to.
No, come on. Naughty.
Yes, okay, so the rejected image on the left is obviously the rejected image, and the final image on the right is obviously the image that was used. This was a moment in time, so it was, what was it, 90 years of BBC radio, and this was to be the visual branding for it. This is the second job I worked for with this client. What I'm going to talk about here, I'm not actually saying anything bad about what anyone did, it's just more of a frustration on my part. I did a piece of work for the same ad company before, which was the Life and Fate. It was a radio adaptation of Life and Fate, and I did the designs for the poster campaign, and then it got changed into a TV advert that won an award, which was really, really cool. And then they got me back to do this other project. So what happened was that it's 90 years of radio, so they wanted it to sort of have this retrospective feel, but also feel modern and futuristic. So the rejected one is frustrating for me because I've kind of made this sort of yellow and red rainbow coming out of an old microphone. So it's like the Wi-Fi signal, an old microphone. I was like, wow, we really nailed this. I'm really pleased. I think it's a nice, simple piece of design. Colours are nice. And then they actually wanted to go more for this. They went for this other design, unfortunately. And funnily enough, I posted both of them on my blog, and the one that got rejected got an astronomical amount of attention, and the one that was used, no one cared about. And the thing is, I think what happened was that they looked at the previous project and went, oh, that went really well. It used these colours. And then I pretty much had to use very similar colours, the red and the black and the white being predominant from the previous project, on this one. And I felt like I lost a bit of control of how the type was used. And the art director I worked with is a really nice guy, and I got along with him really well. And actually, it wasn't him turning. He still took the rejected drawing into the client. They turned it down, unfortunately. But it was one of those situations where in the first one I kind of had a feeling that I was right, and it worked. And then with this one, I felt like the rejected one was the right one, and it didn't get used. And then the one that was used, no one really cared about. So I think it's like, I spend day in, day out working with colour and working, doing my own work. I spend my whole life doing it. And sometimes it's frustrating when you can't make that final decision, even though you feel like you probably know best because you know yourself and you know your work.
Just for the future, Matthew, you might want to start with the bad jobs. Don't end on this terrible dip where we're both kind of, your interviews are just going...
Maybe we can pick it up. We'll see. There must be some good vibes ahead.
Yeah, there are. I mean, you get used to, it's rejection. You just get used to rejection, and that's another important part about surrounding yourself with things that make you feel inspired, because there is quite a lot of rejection involved in this job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want
like men that have been constantly rejected for our lives.
I live for rejection in every part of my life.
That's good to know. Well, I think we'll end it there then, Ben. You've ruined this now. Thanks.
But that's the thing. Like, it's just part of the job. But there's all this it's going to sound really stupid, but you don't know what it's like to be happy unless you know it's to be sad. So who cares? So you get good things happen in your job, and bad things happen in your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just how it is. So it is a part of the job. And that's it, really. But it's not the only part of the job. There's all these wonderful other parts of it as well.
No, I think we've been talking a little bit about momentum in the studio, and depending on like the brief and how badly I've written it, or how well the students have responded to it. There's been times where we've had good vibes in the studio. Would you agree? Times where it's felt very productive in the studio, and times when the momentum dips. But I like the way that that is parallel with what you're saying in terms of you have to accept that as part of the process of being a creative. Sometimes you're going to be blue.
That's why they call it a creative process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, they just call it the create. I don't know what they call it. But now, it's actually a valuable life lesson, kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can
we just briefly touch on these really interesting roughs you've sent through, Ben?
Oh God, we've got that to do.
Yes, Matthew.
How much longer have we got to do?
Well, we've done 44 minutes. I don't want to.
Oh my God, you guys are probably so bored.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go quick. So this was the initial thumbnail roughs for a book that I did recently, and that was all about space. So it starts off really, really, really rough like this, and then the next slide, please.
Yep.
And then this is a slightly more detailed rough, but still incredibly rough. Just getting an idea of what I want on the page and where I think things might sit. Nothing really looks like anything in particular, but it's helping my mind get around it. And then this is sort of going, okay, right now, if I look at a double page spread, where's the information going to go? How is this going to work? What is the best way to move? So I don't know if you can see it, but there's like an A, an I, a H, and bits of the alphabet. And that's me marking text on a piece of paper that's been written, kind of working out where it might sit on the page. And then, that one didn't work, so I did a few more versions to try and think, oh God, how can I explain all of this? And then, eventually it ends up, what one are you on? Are you on the...
we're on the last... Just the last page of roughs before the colour one.
Cool, the double one with the 2 moon pages.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's keep going, and then the final version, which is that. I mean, obviously I've made a little bit of a leap there, but and then all of a sudden this happens.
But I think that's great. We've been making books, and I think we're trying to talk about the importance of roughs and planning and designing work. And that this isn't, and it seems like this process is really nice to see. I mean, I know out of the things that you've shown that are sketches, how many more sketches are there? Is this all of them, or?
No, there's probably a couple. There's actually probably quite a few more, but I just thought otherwise this bit's going to go on for ages, so I cut a load of them out.
Okay. And is there a second wave?
How long did you work on this book?
Oh, well, I mean, this book is 64 pages. I worked on it on and off for about 2 years, but I was working with a scientist, so I actually had to read the text properly and really understand everything, and then I had to work all the page layouts out, work out how much space I had to illustrate in those spaces, and then illustrate. So usually as an illustrator, you just get told the dimensions of what you need to, however big the drawing or whatever it is you're illustrating needs to be. But for this project, I actually had to work out how much space I had.
Yeah.
So I was working, it's my first sort of foray into design, and I really, really enjoyed it actually. I quite like, I love simple layouts and things making sense. And it's quite fun drawing cats as well.
Brain man.
Very good at it.
I like order.
So, and then at the end we have some sketches of yours, Jim, as well. Do you want to explain a little bit what we're looking at here?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So this is very recent. It's for the New York Times, I think it was. Basically, the point of this was that they wanted a full-page illustration.
High energy, Jim. High energy.
They wanted the full-page illustration, but they wanted 2 versions of it. They wanted one for the print and one for the internet. So the one for the print had to have a hole cut out of the middle of the image. So that means that sketches are really important.
Yeah.
Because you have to get that. The way that I work, anyway, I draw pen on paper, and then I scan it in. So it's very difficult to overlay and cut things out and all the rest of it. So the one on the left is a sketch for the full page. The one on the right is a sketch with the whole cut out.
Okay.
Then they changed the size of the page.
Right. Not
right.
It's not helpful.
So I had to rework the sketch. I could not figure out how to put a hole in the middle of that image without it looking utterly shit like these two versions here, because it looks broken, it looks unfinished. So the one on the right, are you looking at the coloured versions now?
Yeah, yeah.
The one on the right is the worst one, but that's what they asked for.
Mm-hmm.
The one on the left is me trying to fill the hole up a little bit by putting the colour from the full page image but not the line, changing the opacity and all the rest of it. The next slide is what we actually ended up doing. So I had to do
Congo.
I had to do more sketches because the one on the right with the hole in, you can see that I've actually taken out a layer of people at the top to put in legs and feet, and I've changed. There's all sorts of weird little details. Like there's a guy on the right with the one in the hole who's being sort of lifted up by a big man. Can you see that?
Yeah, fat man.
Yeah, so that man who's being lifted up originally was a very tall man that I had to then draw a child's body on. Figure out ways of keeping the shape of the hole without changing the image entirely. So there's a lot of thinking on my feet. And then one on the left is obviously the whole thing with the whole filled in. So sketch is really important there.
Yeah, it's really
especially they're in New York, so it was. I couldn't speak to them with my voice. I had to speak to them with typing, and it was very difficult to be specific about what I planned to do and what they wanted to do.
Total nightmare. It's really interesting. Thank you, guys.
It wasn't a nightmare. It was good. It was really good, but it was
They
just.
live in the past in New York, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, 1965. It was just tricky. It was just tricky. That was all. But it was fun. I mean, it's just one of those problems.
Look, that student's really.
I know. Yeah, the guy with the red jump. He's just holding his head like.
Going,
Why won't they stop? God, fucking you idiot! I'm so tired. It's not all about you. Yeah.
Do you want to speak to some students?
Orange.
Do you guys have any questions? Yeah, Sophie, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah.
Come and say hello.
I was just going to ask, because I know you were talking a lot about the fact that you've had clients that have generally kind of done your head in a bit. Have you ever has anyone ever actually brought a job to you that you've actually just looked at and just gone, no?
yes. And I got in loads of trouble. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but
you don't have to talk.
He got very angry.
Wow.
I don't tend to turn jobs down, no, because well, partly because of money, I guess. I mean, I think it's important to talk about money if you're going to be an illustrator. You know, you need to really understand. I mean, I'm not going to go into it now, but you really need to understand how money works and what you have to do for your money.
So, for example, like when pricing a job, and what was the question again?
Do you turn jobs down?
I do turn jobs down. Okay. One thing that's worth, I think some illustration courses don't cover it enough, but like pricing your work and things, it helps evaluate whether it's worth doing sometimes. I mean, sometimes the job's really interesting, you can do it for less money, but because there's such a huge amount of illustrators coming into the industry each year from universities, and some of the courses are getting so big, people don't know how to price their work. So people are kind of more flattered by the fact that, well, I really like making images, and someone's going to give me some money, even if it's not very much.
Yeah.
And I think we're living in London, you have to go, right, well, my rent on my flat is this much, my rent on my studio is this much, council tax, bills, how much does my food cost? I like going to the pub.
Heroin.
And you just got to, and you just got to work out, like, okay, well, actually, if I'm going to do this, I'm not a hobbyist.
Yeah.
It's like if you've got a plumber around, you wouldn't go, oh mate, I know you really love working with pipes and water. do you like if I get you a cake and some biscuits, do you reckon you could just do one for free? They go, like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And it's the same with an illustrator. It's a specialist talent. It's just that people seem to think that it's easy because you drew as a child. And I mean many plumbers probably didn't pull apart the pipes under their sink as a child. But it is. It's a required skill. And I remember talking. Sorry, it's a bit long, but an ex-girlfriend of mine. No, actually, let's not do that. No, it's a good point. basically, there's some academic people that don't think visual things are important, okay? And actually, if you walk around the world around you, there's signs and things everywhere. Like, it's such a massive integral part of every day that we take it for granted, and you should get paid for it. So sometimes you have to work out what people are paying, whether it's worth your time.
Going back to the original question.
Sorry.
Sometimes you have, like, I feel like I can't turn work down. So no, I don't. Just because I mean, I don't do things for free. I don't do that anymore. But usually, if there's a fee attached to it, then I'll do it, and it's just out of necessity. But also, it's an interesting challenge to do things you don't really want to do, like finding a way to do something you don't want to do, so that you enjoy it is another good life lesson, I think.
Any other questions?
Sorry, Ben.
It's all right.
You know, like,
What? Is someone? Are you all right?
I think there's a good.
right, you know, like you collect some stuff, right? How does that influence to your work?
Say that again, sorry.
You know, you collect some stuff like toys and things like that.
The things you collect.
Yeah, how does that influence your work?
I'm not sure it influences my work, but it creates an environment that I feel comfortable in. So, and then that helps to work. I mean, it's very difficult to work in an environment you're not comfortable in.
But if you looking at lots of Jim's toys and my toys, because funnily enough, we both own lots of toys and we're in our 30s.
Nothing wrong with that.
You can see actual influences on our work. You know, it's this. I always see toys and those sorts of objects as very kind of positive things. So they kind of make me feel happy when I look at them. It's like exactly what Jim said.
Yeah,
Very positive atmosphere.
now that I look around, most of the toys I have really smiley faces. So maybe it's just, you know, it's kind of like being praised by inanimate objects.
Yeah. That's because I collect them because at night they come to life. And they top my desk up for me, and then
That's very nice of them.
they cost.
Sorry, Ben.
So they send me a bill at the end of the month, so it's not that
Very
great.
nice. Scumbag. Is there anything else anyone wants to ask? I think we might draw it to a close, guys. I don't want to take up all your day.
That's literally, I mean, I'm not sure if you can tell by how we dress, but we've got nothing else to do.
I tell you what, there's one question we've been asking everyone, so I think we should probably ask you two to tackle it as well. And this, in your opinion, what's the difference between good illustration and really, really great illustration?
I have no idea. Okay. I think maybe time.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of good illustration around these days that it's like with the passing of time, certain things will stand out more. Certain things will be remembered more. Certain things will be revered, talked about. And I think it's difficult to know what really great illustration is coming out at the moment, just because there's so much of it. So that it's difficult to compartmentalize brilliant images. But in 20 years' time, everything that we consider to be brilliant in illustration now might only be whittled down to 4 or 5 images.
I think it's something that can stand the test of time. And also, I think when you look at someone's work, and you might go, oh, that's a nice piece of illustration, but it reminds you too much of their influences. But when you see something, you're like, only that person could have made that.
Yeah.
I think that's a really nice, there's certain illustrations that you see around and you're like, yeah, that's them. There's no one else that can do it quite like them. And to me, that's what makes something quite great.
Right.
Nice colours. As long as try not to make it too twee.
Yeah. Okay.
Does anyone in the room think they don't want to be an illustrator after this talk?
They've all put their hands up.
Yeah.
No, I think
Okay.
it's been great. It's been really, really fantastic. Can we give these guys a round of applause? I think. Do you think we could do a
Thanks
Mexican
very much
wave?
for
Can we,
having us.
Can I just ask, does this go on the internet?
well, possibly, unless you want me to cut bits out.
Can you cut out everything that we were saying about art directors and just dub in bits where we're saying something like, art directors are really good to work with, and I like working with art directors, and here's my email address, should any of them want to get in touch.
Can we not just leave it as it is?
Yeah, right. Bye.
Nice one. Cheerio, guys. Thank you.
How about it?